Hi. So it is currently 10:57 on I can't stand the glare there on May 31st. I wanted to do a quick live. Again, I'm not on my medical cannabis right now. I want to have videos showing the differences between me on and off my medication. I think it's important to see the difference. I also I need to mention just in case for whatever reason, um, well, essentially the guy that raped me that I met working for reality based group, um, he again he did rape me. The second time I had been avoiding him. I pretended that it didn't happen, and I had been avoiding him. He lifted me up and put me on his dick while I was drunk, wearing a shirt saying that I wasn't gonna have sex with him too. Like this was not. It was rape. I was all sorts of out of it. I actually even told him on the subway. So I had a concert ticket, an extra concert ticket, and I had asked him to go with me because I didn't know anybody else. I had just moved to the area. I didn't know anybody else. The guy I had been seeing, we stopped seeing each other. It wasn't a date. This was me going with a coworker and or a former coworker. And the reason I invited him was because he told me he was in the music industry. So I thought, this was a professional trip. This was not meant to be a date. But he booked the hotel when he knew I would be asleep. He picked king size, claimed they only had king size beds available. I doubt that. I had plans to sleep on the floor. That didn't happen because I did end up drinking that night. I don't drink normally, and I haven't had anything to drink since 2020. I never will again. But I very seldomly drink. But that night I packed a shirt to let him know that I wasn't going to be having sex with him. But he still lifted me up and put me on his dick. Um, Essentially, I did some research. So what I was going to say with that line of thought was when we were in New York, we were on the subway, and he was trying to tell me about one of his songs, and he told me the lyrics and what it was about, and basically, it was very creepy. Um, I'm going to take off my glasses right now. I looked at him, and I just kind of said, and he was like leaning in on me and trying to explain it, and I was just like, no, like that's why I don't go out. I don't go out and enjoy things in life because of men like your song and what you're trying to excuse right now. That's why I don't go out. That's why I don't go out is what I said to him. The middle sentence there I did not say, but it was my thought. But I said that's men like that are why I don't go out and do things. And it like kind of went over his head, I guess. But anyway, I ended up doing some research on him because I was curious. He told me that weekend he told me he didn't have any kids. I ended up finding some information on him after learning his real last name because I only knew the last name that he promoted himself by on his Instagram account. Um, when I found out his real legal name, because he had me, I ended up paying him half of the hotel and sending it through PayPal, so I was able to see his last name through his PayPal account. And I did some Google stuff, and he can't. There are a couple of websites that actually have him reported as a known scammer, including one that has a video of him talking about how he needs money for him and his daughter, something like that. But it was like about his daughter, and either the man is an actor and that was an act, or like there were like serious like warning, this guy's a scammer with all of these photos talking about the different types of scams that he runs, um, and then a video talking about his daughter, and then he tells me he doesn't have kids. um, if he was an actor, I'm not an actor. I don't act. I've been on an unscripted reality television show, and I have that's basically it. Any job in the film industry that I've applied to that hasn't been for makeup or hair had as background where I'd be heavily covered in makeup, or as like a host for something that's a host position, which is very different than acting. Um, well, not people, sorry, I used the wrong words. That's not how I meant to say it. I apologize. I don't know how to say what I meant to say, but people who know what I meant to say will understand it. And to anyone who doesn't know what I meant to say, I'm really sorry that I'm having a hard time articulating what I actually mean, but I do apologize. And because I don't want to offend anybody, because it's not what I meant, but I feel like that might offend some people, and I'm sorry. Anyway, so I don't know that guy. It was rape. The only reason we hung out a second time was because I had been either drugged or had gotten blackout drunk. I had gotten blackout drunk, but I don't know whether or not I was drugged less than 36 hours prior. Because I had actually been trying to not hang out with him. I had stopped. I was ignoring his messages. I had stopped talking to him. The second time it happened, we hung out. I went to his office. It was Christmas Eve. I kind of didn't, I was in such a daze. Like I felt like I was floating, like I wasn't 100% myself. I remember getting to his office. We sat and we talked for a bit, ordered Thai delivery food, had a glass of wine, and then he was pretty much like, okay, time for sex. And I ended up with rug burn on my knees so bad and I was so detached and so dissociated. First, he didn't talk, he thought it was gross and didn't speak to me for like 6 weeks. But I didn't reach out to him. I didn't want to talk to him. But I was so detached and so dissociated, I didn't clean them or treat them properly. And they started to get really gross looking. And I ended up in urgent care because I was so detached and dissociated from the fact that I had been raped and then ended up being talked in, so vulnerable and trying to pretend that it didn't happen, but it did. And trying, I had been so fucked up that I couldn't even think to get Neosporin. And I ended up in fucking urgent care for rug burns on my knees. I can actually, hold on. And that's, I pretty much just came on here just to say that I'm not an actor. You will not find video, like aside from me doing, I did an entirely improv student film for a friend. I think the film's only about 5 minutes long. And we did an entirely improv Toyota thing at work. Aside from things like that, there's no there's no hidden video of me talking about children that I know I don't have, or like trying to get money off of people. I want to make sure people are aware of this is entirely real. None of this is fake. It's just that a whole shitload of people started telling me to go fuck myself when I was having a hard time articulating myself because of things that were going on that were outside of my control, including potential side effects of a potential stroke, which I have likely. I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to show you the rug burns. So I don't know if you can see, that was the day of. This is, I don't know, there's so much glare. There you go. That is later on. But they ended up getting so bad. I did need to go to urgent care. But I had no, like, I did not ever intend on going out on a date with him or having sex with him. It just, there may have been some miscommunications, perhaps. I had at one point during, I was very detached and dissociated during training because of what had been going on in my life up until, like, I had just had this major medical issue and then was still recovering and had like a whole bunch of things happen prior to working for that company. During one of our lunches, I had shared a story about how I was approached by someone at a Second Cup in Canada who cornered me and basically told me he wanted to take me home and teach my husband how to fuck me like a real man. I gave that story as an example of some of the absolutely atrocious things that can happen to females, people in general, but me in that moment, to try and strike up a conversation as to how to deal with something like that, if it were to occur while what was going on. That conversation did not ever happen. However, I had on my phone a screenshot or a saved photo of the business card this man gave me because he wanted to make sure that he let me know he could teach my husband how to fuck me like a real man. I kind of started laughing in his face and was so awkward and uncomfortable because he had cornered, like I could not, I had to maneuver around him because he where he approached me. But I want to make sure, like, I'm not into that. In fact, that sort of thing, that what that man preaches and teaches people, he's a predator. He is a predator. That is not healthy. It is a highly toxic behavior. And if, like, I'm sorry that I was super vulnerable and unable to, like, I kind of sort of thought my telling him that the lyrics to his song were the reason I don't go out because of men like that would be a clue. But I guess because of the addition of the alcohol, all that went out the window. Anyway, again, one of the reasons why I don't drink. And I need to apologize to anyone at Beer Fest in Pittsburgh. I had been celebrating my divorce slash the beginning of my divorce because my separation was going on, and I finally felt free. And I went to Beer Fest with friends and ended up getting drunk. And I'm not a drinker. So if I did anything, I likely, I know that I was like wild in a way that I normally wouldn't be. Like not dancing, but like dancing, not dancing. I know that I was not my normal self that night. So I sincerely apologize to anybody who ran into me. But no, like I wanted to make it known that it was rape. Anyway, same thing with I had my social skills are so fucked up because of just a lot of things. Like I had been, my ex-husband had regressed me to about 15 years old because he had wanted me to be the 16-year-old he had made up in his head or had been fantasizing about for 14 years. And essentially I had been regressed to that age. And so like that was how that was friendship. That was friends with guys growing up. Being an object of sexual desire, for the most part, I did not have sex with friends. It was more like they just wanted me. This and like it was kind of got creepy. Like I would try and put up boundaries, but it was kind of like I had no. Well, eventually, a lot of the guys who were like that, we ended up, our friendships didn't last, and obviously, like the better people stayed around. I'm not getting into that right now, and I apologize. I'm very tired, and these are topics that I want to be able to discuss when I'm able to do so without having issues finding words. Because that's right now I'm really struggling, and I do apologize for that. It's not that I don't have something to say, it's that the words are not there right now. There was a reason I brought that up. I'm sorry, I'm a bit tired. I've been up since 2, 3, and then I tried to get some more sleep. Yeah, anyway, I am going to what time is it? Oh, okay, it's 14. It's 14 minutes and 41 seconds when I put my glasses back on. But yeah, so that's what it was. I have a hard time identifying friendship because of my youth. And again, it's not like there are some people who I had amazing friendships with, who took no for an answer. But there were also some people who like kind of felt like they owned me and would get angry and frustrated that I didn't want to date them, and they felt like they were wasting their time. When meanwhile, I was just like, no, but we're friends, right? Like I don't understand. I thought we were friends. Like friends don't get mad because the other person doesn't want to have sex with them. That's not a friend. Like anyway, um, had I not been in such a vulnerable state after leaving my second husband, like no, had I had a divorce attorney, a lot of things wouldn't have happened. Um, anyway, thank you for your time. I hope you have a great night. Um, just real quick, because that really struck me as being important. There are other things that I want to talk about, but at least if anything happens, which I pray it does not, because I'm looking at both of my kids right now. I miss my other two so much. But these two, we need to move as soon as possible. I've been trying to for 2 years. Um, anyway, thank you for your time.